Hi, my name is Todd Heberlein and I'm the chef at Volante Farms in Needham, Massachusetts. And today we're going to make one of my favorite Irish comfort food dishes, a parsnip and Blarney cheese tart. Now this thing is really fantastic. Lots of flavor, lots going on, and the dough is very simple to make. It's one of my favorites. It's equal parts, weight-wise, of flour, cream cheese, and butter. So even if you're not a baker, this one is easy money. All right, so we're going to get started. We're going to add our butter into our mixer. And you want that to be at room temperature. And we'll set that at medium speed. And we're going to whip that for about a minute. So at this point, we'll shut that off and add the cream cheese in. The butter's whipped up a little bit. We'll put it back on for about a minute. We're going to add a little bit of salt also and a little pinch of black pepper just for a little bit of flavor. Now, right now, the cream cheese and the butter have mixed together really well, which is what you're looking for. You're not whipping it. You're not looking for peaks or any of that kind of stuff, just to get them incorporated. All right, we're going to scrape this down a little bit. All right, so we're going to add a little bit of our flour in. Turn that back on. A little bit more. All right, and we're good. So I'm going to lift that up, get all these chunks off. So we have a good ball here. We're going to set this down, just pull it together a little bit, make a little disc. I have a piece of plastic wrap ready to go. So we're going to wrap this up in plastic wrap. And we're going to put it in the refrigerator for about 10 or 15 minutes. And from that point, we'll take it out and we'll go to the next step. Okay, so my tart dough has been in the refrigerator for about 15 minutes. It's hardened up a little bit, so this is going to make rolling it out a lot easier. All right, we'll take it out. We have a little bit of flour on the surface. We'll start just by pushing down a little bit, make sure that there's just enough flour so it doesn't stick. Nice, even rolling on this. And then every now and then, just make sure if you need it, just add a little bit more flour so it doesn't stick. All right, so what we'll do, we're going to roll this over a little bit. We'll put our tart pan down. Now, normally you would grease the tart pan, but because of the butter and the cream cheese, you don't have to. There's enough to keep it just fine. All right, so the dough is in there. You're going to fold it towards the pan, towards the center of the pan a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and trim. Don't trim it completely. And I'll show you why. Once you fold it over, you'll need a little bit more on the outside. Okay. So we'll set that aside. You certainly can use that for something else. So now you're going to pull this in a little bit more and crimp it into the corner. Just like that. Make sure it's nice and flat. And then with this little bit on the outside, you're going to fold that in over itself on the edges of the pan, leaving a little bit just above the pan itself. And that's why you leave that little bit of extra there. We're going to take this now and we're going to put it in the freezer for about an hour. Definitely want to make sure it gets nice and cold before you take it to the next step. Okay, so our tart dough has been in the freezer for about an hour. It's nice and cold. This is what you want. You need it to be frozen. You need it to be hard. Otherwise, with the butter and the cream cheese, if you put it from rolling it right into the oven, it's just going to melt and it's not going to be what you want. So it's frozen out, and what we're going to do is you're going to get a piece of aluminum foil and you're going to put it into the pan, and you can do one of two things. If you happen to have pie weights, which are really cool, you can most certainly use those. In the kitchen, we have dry beans, we have everything. We kind of keep it easy, and we're just going to line this with dry beans. Now, make sure that you're pressing down all the way, that the foil goes all the way into the corners, and then just very lightly, you're going to take the foil and wrap it under the pan a little bit, and this will help ensure that as the tart and the dough bakes, it's going to rise a little bit, and you don't want it to push the foil up even though the weights are on it. It's a lot easier just to do this part. The oven's at 400 degrees. We're going to put this in there for about 15 minutes, and it's going to bake for a little bit, and then we'll take it out and take the beans off of it. And then anywhere that has risen a little bit, we'll take a little paper towel and we'll just push down a little bit on the dough itself, and then it will go back in the oven for about 8 to 10 minutes. Like I said, very easy and very delicious. Okay, so the first vegetable for our tart that we're going to work on is the parsnips. So all I did was I peeled 2 parsnips, medium size, and cut them into thin pieces like this, very simple. A little bit of salt and pepper, and we'll put a little bit of olive oil, just enough to coat. And this is a really, really simple part. The oven's already preheated to 325. Okay, we're going to lay those out. When you put them in the sheet pan, make sure that they're not overlapping on top of each other. They're going to cook fairly quickly, but you want to get a little bit of color on them just to give it a little bit more flavor. If they're stacked on top of each other, they're just going to end up steaming. So place those in the oven and cook them for about 12 or 15 minutes and pull them out and set them aside, and you're all set for this part. Okay, so the next step with our tart is we're going to work on the filling now. And the filling for this is really easy, but you're just drawing out a lot of flavor from the few simple ingredients that are in it. So right here I have 3 onions that I thinly sliced. And we have a saute pan getting hot. We're going to add a little bit of olive oil to that. And what we're going to do at this point is we're going to caramelize the onions, just nice and low and slow, and get lots of deep, rich brown color. And that really is the base of the flavor. Besides the parsnips, besides the cheese, the onions are what I like about this tart to really stand out. All right, so this is what you're looking for with these onions. We have a beautiful deep brown color. I mean, it smells fantastic. It looks beautiful. And at this point, we're going to add in our kale. And this is going to wilt down. It definitely seems like a lot. It's going to wilt down a good amount. We'll add a little bit of salt and pepper. Kind of spread it around a little bit. All right, and then you're just going to stir this a little bit. Really all you want is the kale to wilt a little bit because everything is going to go in the oven again. So 8 to 10 minutes is going to be just fine. So once the kale is wilted after about 8 or 10 minutes, we're going to take it off the burner, set it aside, and cool it before we assemble the rest of our tart. All right, so we're ready. Our tart shell is ready, our parsnips are ready, our kale and onions are ready. Now it's time to assemble, and this is fun. This is really a very simple but really good dish. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to line the cooked tart shell with the roasted parsnips. All right, so we have a nice layer there. Our next step in this bowl, I have a half a cup of buttermilk. We're going to crack 1 egg and add that to it. Nice, beautiful farm fresh egg, and just whisk that together. Very simple. See? All right, and then we're going to add our kale and our onion mixture. We're using a Blarney cheese, so I have some already grated. I'm going to add that in there. Stir it up really well. We'll add a little bit more, another little pinch of salt and pepper. This smells really, really good. Okay, so, and it's just the 1 egg, so it's just enough to bind everything together. All of that goes in. Spread it out evenly. That's it, very simple. Really colorful, smells great, looks great. Now, what we'll do is we have the oven preheated to 325 already. We're going to pop this in there. I would set the timer first for about 15 minutes. Take a look at it, maybe spin it if it needs to. Maybe one side's getting a little darker than the other. And it's, it's sort of like a custard, so you don't want it to be jiggly. You want nice color, golden brown. Give it a little shake, and if it's not moving too much, you're good to go. And it's really going to make the house smell wonderful. So this is what the tart looks like when it's finished. You have a lot of nice golden brown color. Give it a little shake. It's not moving around at all. This is perfect. So this is going to be my dinner. And let me tell you, you can keep your green beer and your corned beef and cabbage. I'm going to eat this parsnip and Blarney cheese tart, and I'm going to have myself a Guinness. And that is how I'm going to celebrate St. Paddy's Day.